Welcome everyone to this Kahanika Safar, a true journey of the story. Today, we're jumping right into the life of one of history's most fascinating figures. We're talking about a man who carried the massive weight of being a great prophet, the bearer of divine scriptures, and the mighty king of Jerusalem all at once. Throughout this explainer, we'll be exploring the miracles, the really intense trials, and the enduring legacy of Prophet Dawood, also known as David. So get ready because this is a deeply moving journey that literally crosses the boundaries of time, justice, and devotion.
Okay, let's dive into this. What if I told you that the legendary story of this great king doesn't actually begin in the rolling hills of Jerusalem? What if the vast majority of his life was entirely borrowed? I know, it sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel, right? But according to deeply held historical and religious traditions, Prophet Dawood's story actually starts billions of years before his birth, long before the earth, the sun, or the moon even existed.
Section 1. A Borrowed Lifespan. The Pact in the Realm of Souls.
Picture this. Before time even began, God gathered all the future descendants of Prophet Adam in the realm of souls, which is said to be located between Taif and Mecca. As Adam is gazing out at this endless sea of souls, he notices some are shining brilliantly, just like stars. These were the prophets. But there was one soul in particular that just caught his eye. Its light was uniquely radiant. Adam asks, "Who is this?" And God replies, "This is your son Dawud, who will be a great prophet and king of the Israelites." But there was a major catch. God revealed that this exceptionally bright soul was destined to live for only 40 years on earth. Adam was absolutely crushed. How could such a magnificent king get such a brief amount of time?
So how does this sorrow turn into this incredible act of paternal love? Well, Adam had a vast lifespan of 1,000 years, and he immediately asks God if he could literally gift some of his own years to his future son. God agreed. Adam generously transfers 60 years of his own life, bringing his own clock down to 940, just so Dawood could rule and live for a full, glorious century. The angels documented this divine pact, and the whole transaction was sealed.
But, humans are naturally forgetful. When the angel of death finally shows up for Prophet Adam 940 years later, Adam is completely shocked. He argues, "Wait, I still have 60 years left." He had totally forgotten the pact from the realm of souls. Because he denied it, the written document was brought out, and the angel Gabriel himself stepped up to testify to the promise. And because at this exact moment, God established the ultimate rule for humanity. All debts, transactions, and contracts must be written down so no one can ever deny them later. Dawood got his 60 years, and we got the foundation of written contracts.
Section 2. The Test of Hasty Judgment. The 99 Sheep.
Fast forward, and Dawood is now on earth, utilizing those borrowed years as a mighty king known for his incredible piety. One night, he's reading Psalms in his secluded, highly guarded prayer niche, when suddenly, two strange men literally jump over his high wall. Now, his first instinct is obviously fear. Anyone dropping into a locked, guarded room is usually an assassin. But the strangers immediately calm him down. They say they're just two brothers in a dispute, seeking his legendary justice. One of them steps forward, intensely emotional, points at his brother and cries out, "He has 99 sheep, and I have only one. Yet he demands my single sheep to complete his 100, and he overpowers me with his harsh words."
Hearing this blatant unfairness, Prophet Dawood's righteous sense of justice just boils over. Without even turning to the second brother to hear his defense or ask for witnesses, Dawood immediately rules in favor of the first man. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the very second the verdict left his mouth, the two men vanished into thin air. The room was just empty. Dawood instantly realized his monumental mistake. These weren't humans at all. They were angels sent to test him. He had committed the ultimate judicial sin, judging a case without hearing both sides.
40. That is the number of days and nights Dawood spent in agonizing repentance. He knew this hasty judgment was a slip unworthy of a prophet, so he fell into continuous prostration. The traditions describe this with such profound imagery. It said he wept so heavily that grass literally grew from the puddle of his tears, only to be scorched and burned by the sheer agony radiating from his heart. Ultimately, God forgave him, elevating him to be a true vicegerent on earth. It's this massive reminder that even the absolute greatest leaders must answer for acting on impulse.
Section 3. The Divine Chain of Justice. The Hollow Staff and the Lost Miracle.
To help Dawood ensure perfect justice in Jerusalem, God granted him a genuinely stunning miracle. A glowing, luminous chain suspended from the clouds. The catch? Only a truthful person could grab it. For a liar, the chain would magically pull away. And this brings us to one of the most brilliantly deceitful court cases in history.
Picture a tense crowd gathered around this glowing chain. A man comes forward claiming he entrusted a highly expensive pearl to his companion, but the companion denies ever getting it. The accused man, looking completely unfazed, just insists, "I have already returned your pearl to you."
This is where human cunning tries to outsmart a divine miracle. The victim reaches up, and the chain easily falls into his hand, proving he really did give the pearl to the man. Now it's the accused man's turn. But before reaching up, he casually hands his thick wooden walking staff to the victim to hold for a second. He reaches up, and shockingly, the chain falls into his hand too. The crowd completely loses its mind. How can they both be telling the truth? Well, the trickster had actually hollowed out his wooden staff and hidden the pearl inside it. By handing the staff to the victim right before the test, he had technically given the pearl back at that exact second.
God was deeply displeased by this blatant mockery of the miracle. Instantly, the luminous chain was pulled back into the clouds, never to be seen again. Through divine revelation, God told Dawood that from this day forward, heavenly chains weren't going to solve human disputes. Instead, justice would have to rely on earthly witnesses, solemn oaths, human intellect, and deep investigation. And this exact system of investigative justice was famously used centuries later by Hazrat Ali to solve unwitnessed crimes, completely echoing Dawood's newly established legal legacy.
Section 4. A Lesson in Humility. The Frog's Nightly Devotion.
You have to remember, Dawood was blessed with a voice so beautiful that when he sang the Psalms, birds would freeze midair and mountains would literally echo his melodies. After one particularly long, beautiful night of worship, a fleeting thought of pride crossed his mind. He kind of thought, no one worships as beautifully as I do. Right then, a tiny frog emerges from the nearby water. By divine command, it speaks to the mighty prophet. The frog asks if Dawood was pleased with his worship, and when he says yes, the frog drops a bombshell. It reveals that every single night it performs 1,000 praises of God, and from every single praise, 3,000 more praises branch out.
But it wasn't just the sheer math of the praises that shattered Dawood's pride. It was the frog's ultimate humility. The frog said, "I come to the surface hoping a hungry bird might eat me, sacrificing myself for God's creation, and I never take pride in this." Those incredibly humbling words absolutely broke the prophet. He was driven to tears, falling into prostration, realizing that every single creature out there, no matter how tiny, has a profound, hidden value and its own selfless way of glorifying the Creator.
Section 5. The Legacy. A canopy of millions of wings. Dawood was a ruler who could literally bend iron with his bare hands and shake mountains with his voice. But like all of us, his time came to a close. Having fulfilled the exact 100 years written for him, thanks to his father Adam, Prophet Dawood passed away peacefully on a Saturday. The traditions tell us he was in a sacred place of worship, bowed down in deep prostration. When the angel of death arrived, he stood respectfully before the prophet, showing immense reverence before gently taking his soul. The voice that once enchanted the entire world finally fell silent, and this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of his impact. On the day of his funeral, the scorching sun of Jerusalem was beating down mercilessly on the massive crowds. Suddenly, a sound like a great storm swept through the valley. It was millions upon millions of birds, the very same birds that used to pause in the sky to sing with him. Commanded by his son, the new King Solomon, this unimaginably vast flock spread their wings, interlocking them to form a massive, living canopy, providing cooling shade for the entire procession. Just a breathtaking final tribute.
Prophet Dawood left behind a truly monumental legacy. Before passing, he initiated the grand construction of Baitul Muqaddas, the Great Temple, often called the Haikal, but it wasn't his destiny to finish it. That massive honor fell to his son Solomon, who not only took the throne, but was destined to expand the empire into the greatest earthly kingdom the world had ever seen, ruling over men, the winds, the animals, and even the unseen realm.
Which leaves us with a genuinely fascinating cliffhanger. Dawood's era of justice laid the perfect foundation, but what came next completely defied all human imagination. How exactly did Prophet Solomon command armies of jinn to finish that colossal temple his father started? And what was the true secret behind the legendary ring that gave him absolute dominion over the entire world? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this journey sparked your curiosity, and I leave you with those questions as we close this incredible chapter. Keep wondering and keep seeking the story.